What if I told you that Outlander Season 8 may finally unravel one of the greatest mysteries left hanging in the series? A mystery so deeply tied to Claire's story that it could change everything we thought we knew about her family. That's the promise of Blood of My Blood, and it's no accident that this prequel arrives before the final season. The question is simple. Why now? Why before the grand finale? And more importantly, what secret truth about Faith might it be hiding? If you've been following Outlander closely, you already know that the end of Season 7 left us with a haunting revelation about Faith, one that sent fans spiraling into endless speculation. Faith's existence, her role in the timeline, and her true connections were left in a haze of unanswered questions. And then came Blood of My Blood, a story that dives into the past with Julia and Henry, Claire's parents. Julia is revealed to be pregnant with her second child. That detail alone opens a floodgate of possibilities. Could this unborn child be the key? Could this one character explain Faith's mysterious place in the Fraser family tree? The intrigue here is irresistible, and the writers know it. They've placed Julia's pregnancy at the center of the prequel for a reason, but the reason is not as straightforward as it seems. Now here's where things get interesting. We don't know if the child will be born at all. We don't know if it will be a boy or a girl. We don't know if Julia and Henry will ever return to their own time. The show has left every door wide open, and fans are already piecing together theories that could tie Blood of My Blood directly into Season 8's climactic arc. Let's pause for a moment. Why release Blood of My Blood before the last season of Outlander? The easy answer is to keep fans engaged while we wait. But that's not enough. Julia's pregnancy changes the stakes. It plants a seed in the past that could grow into one of the biggest reveals in Season 8. Imagine this. What if Julia's second child becomes the missing link in Faith's lineage? One theory suggests that this child eventually becomes the ancestor of Faith, Fanny, and Jane. If that's true, it would mean that Claire is not just a healer and a time traveler, but also Fanny's great aunt. Think about the emotional weight of that. Claire, unknowingly tied to the very children she encounters, bound by blood across centuries. Of course, there are other theories, each one more compelling than the last. Some fans point to Julia's possible entanglement with Lord Leavitt, raising the question of illegitimacy. Others suggest a more tragic outcome, where Julia's pregnancy ends in heartbreak. But which theory holds the most weight? Which one truly aligns with Outlander's themes of destiny, family, and sacrifice? That's what we're about to uncover. Let's start with the first major theory, the one that connects Julia's second child directly to Faith's bloodline. It sounds bold, but it actually fits within Outlander's long tradition of weaving family secrets across centuries. The idea goes like this. Julia survives her struggles in the past, gives birth to a healthy child, and that child grows up to become an ancestor of Faith, Fanny, and Jane. If true, this makes Claire Fanny's great-aunt by blood. Think about the emotional implications of this. Claire, who has always wrestled with questions of belonging, would find herself tied by blood to children she only meets through the web of history. It's the kind of emotional twist Outlander loves to deliver, and it would neatly explain the lingering mystery around Faith's origins. But here's the problem. The timeline complicates everything. If Julia's second child is born around 1715, the math gets tricky. Could that child realistically be the parent or grandparent of young girls who appear in the 1770s? A daughter might be too old to fit the timeline. A son, however, could father children later in life, even into his 40s, which would line up more neatly. That's why many fans argue the child is likely a boy, though the show keeps hinting at hope and renewal. That symbolic language makes some believe a daughter, possibly even named Hope, could be the answer. Yet this theory leaves us asking hard questions. If Julia and Henry did have another child in the past, why didn't they ever return to the future? Why didn't this child attempt time travel? Why has no record of them ever crossed Claire's path? These unanswered questions keep the mystery alive, and then there's the darker twist. Julia's visit to Lord Lovett's chamber in Blood of My Blood opened the door to speculation that the child may not even be Henry's. Could this second child be illegitimate? The stakes rise sharply here, because if the child carries Lord Lovett's bloodline, it changes everything. That would bind the Fraser lineage in even more tangled knots of secrecy, scandal, and betrayal. But does that really fit the values Julia and Henry lived by? Everything we know about them suggests they would never leave a child behind with someone like Lovat. If such a situation ever happened, they would fight to protect their baby, even if it meant running for their lives. That makes this illegitimacy theory weaker, though it's still being discussed among fans who love the drama it adds. The next possibility is more hopeful. Julia escapes with help, possibly from Brian Fraser, and finds a way to reunite with Henry. Together, they raise their second child in the past. This theory makes sense emotionally because Outlander often rewards its characters with moments of hope after long periods of struggle. The baby could symbolize survival, renewal, and the resilience of family against all odds. But the show has never shied away from heartbreak either. And this is where speculation takes an even sharper turn. What if Julia's pregnancy ends in tragedy? Could the writers be foreshadowing another stillbirth or miscarriage, echoing Claire's own painful loss? That possibility lingers in the background, casting a shadow over the hope the pregnancy represents. Fans fear it, but they also know Outlander has always dared to show the painful side of love, loss, and survival. This leaves us with a question that no one can quite answer yet. What path will the writers take? Will Julia's child be the long-hidden link to faith? Or will her pregnancy simply be another devastating chapter in the endless sacrifices demanded by time travel? So far, we've looked at the most grounded possibilities, but Outlander fans know better than anyone that this series never sticks to the obvious path. There are always stranger, more unpredictable theories waiting in the wings. One of the most fascinating involves Master Raymond. Some viewers believe that his mysterious healing powers could have changed Faith's fate. The theory goes like this. Instead of Faith dying at birth, Raymond might have secretly intervened, saving her life in some way we've never seen on screen. Perhaps he transported her to another time or place, raising her in secret until she grew old enough to become the mother of Fanny and Jane. It's imaginative. It's dramatic. But is it believable? Personally, it feels like a stretch. Outlander's power lies in blending history and fantasy, but this idea almost tips into myth. For Raymond to take Faith and raise her in an entirely separate timeline without anyone ever mentioning it seems unlikely. Still, the theory lingers because it answers the mystery in one clean sweep. Faith never truly died. She lived under Raymond's protection, and her descendants carried the story forward. Another theory pushes things even further. Some fans speculate that Julia's second child isn't just a minor character at all. What if Julia gives birth to someone we already know? Someone like Gillis Duncan? Imagine the shock of discovering that Julia was her mother all along. That would completely rewrite everything we thought we knew about Gillis, her obsession with time travel, and her destructive role in history. But let's look closer. For Julia to give birth to Gillis, she would have to raise her into the future without ever reconnecting with Claire. That detail doesn't sit right. If Julia had carried her child into Claire's timeline, there would have been some trace, some meeting, some acknowledgement. The lack of that connection makes the Gillis theory hard to defend, even though it would make for one of the most dramatic twists in the entire franchise. And then comes the possibility no fan wants to face, the saddest of them all. Julia's pregnancy might not result in a child at all, a stillbirth, a miscarriage. Another tragedy that mirrors the painful journey Claire herself endured. Outlander has never been afraid to show the heartbreak of loss, and a storyline like this would cut deep. It would also explain why Faith's origins remain shrouded in mystery. There simply is no link because the child never lived. Yet even here, there's hesitation. Blood of My Blood has placed such focus on Julia's pregnancy that to end it in despair feels almost too cruel. The story seems to be building towards something more than just grief. Whether that something is hope, scandal, or destiny, the show clearly wants us to keep guessing. But here's the biggest question hanging over all of this. Will Julia and Henry ever return to the present? Outlander has long told us that Claire's parents died in a car accident when she was just 5 years old. Raised by her Uncle Lamb, she believed them gone forever. Yet Blood of My Blood rewrites this history by revealing they traveled into the past. So which story is true? Did they really die in that car accident, or is that only what Claire was told? This is where the theories begin to clash with what we know of Claire's life. If Julia and Henry survived, if they lived out their days in the past, why did Claire never learn the truth? Why was she left to believe she was an orphan? Those questions may be the very heart of the mystery Blood of My Blood is trying to solve. As the theories stack higher, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. Blood of My Blood is not simply a companion story. It is a deliberate piece of the larger puzzle, placed right before the final season to prepare us for revelations that could reshape everything we thought we knew about Claire and her lineage. Julia's pregnancy is the thread holding this entire mystery together. Every possible outcome of her unborn child opens a new door. A daughter could carry the theme of hope, perhaps even becoming the grandmother of Fanny and Jane, forever binding Claire to them through hidden bloodlines. A son could more easily fit the timeline, fathering children later in life and cementing the connection to Faith's origins. A tragic loss, though painful, would mirror Claire's own heartbreak and explain why the story of Faith still feels incomplete. And yet, the most unsettling question remains. Why did Julia and Henry never return to the time Claire knew as home? Outlander tells us their lives ended in a car crash when Claire was 5 years old. But Blood of My Blood changes that narrative. If they truly traveled into the past, then what really happened? Was the accident nothing more than a cover story? Or did history itself bend and reshape around their absence? The answer may lie in one fleeting image from the trailer. Julia, in 18th century attire, touched tenderly by a familiar hand. That glimpse suggests survival. It suggests reunion. And it suggests that for Julia and Henry, the past was not a trap but a destiny they could not escape. They may find love and purpose there, but their choice, or their fate, means Claire grows up believing she lost them forever. This is where the mystery reaches its sharpest edge. If they remain in the past, then their descendants matter more than ever. The unborn child becomes the hinge upon which the Faith storyline swings. Whether that child brings hope, scandal, or tragedy, their presence is the reason Blood of My Blood had to be told first. So the question becomes, what truth will Outlander choose to reveal? Will it be the story of family ties hidden for centuries, connecting Claire to Fanny and Jane in ways no one expected? Will it be the revelation of betrayal and illegitimacy, rewriting the Fraser bloodline in Scandal? Or will it be heartbreak once again, with Julia's pregnancy ending in silence and sorrow? We stand now at the edge of that revelation. The Faith mystery has loomed over the series like a shadow, and Blood of My Blood has brought it into the light. The answer is close. But whether it heals old wounds or deepens them, we will only know when Season 8 finally arrives. The only certainty is this: the past is not finished with the Frasers, and the truth when it comes will change Claire's story forever.